what is the best way to paint a Space Wolf? Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name's Paul, and the great hunt has begun. We started working our way through the Space Wolves army box, and in today's video, we're going to try and find out what the best way to paint them is. Try and find a recipe that we like that we can use going forward. So, in all the hype and excitement of getting this kit, I've obviously been researching how to paint the models, because I've never painted a Space Wolf before my last video, and two of them piqued my interest. There was a contrast-based paint scheme from Warhipster, using lots of contrast paints and zenithal highlights, similar to what I've been doing with the Black Templar. And then there was a Grimdark version from Nuka Kitten that was like using a black undercoat and then putting the base layer sort of in the middle but leaving the edges kind of unpainted to create this cool big thick black outline, this Grimdark model. So those two really piqued my interest, so I thought, you know what, we'll try them both today. So I've already sub-assembled, primed and built our models, so we can just jump straight into the painting. So we'll start off with the Grimdark version on this one that's been undercoated in black. Let's go. Sweet, so here are our two models, but we don't actually need this zenithal guy for now. We're going to do the contrast version on him, so we can put him to one side and start work on this fully black primed model here. So like I mentioned, it's going to be like a sort of grimdark, thick black outline kind of model. So yeah, just to start off, we'll put some Eshin grey over the armour, but leaving some of the recesses and the gaps where the armour meets, still that black undercoat. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's actually going to come up, but you can kind of see we're just trying to stay away from the edges and where like armour plates meet. So just so we've got that Eshin grey in the middle, then like the outlines and the edges have still got that sort of black trim coming through. Cool, so that is all of the grey done on the armour, just a layer of Eshin grey, trying to avoid the edges and whatnot. So next up we've got an equal mix of that Eshin grey we've just used, mixed with some rust grey. So we've done kind of a 50-50 on my wet palette here. Ignore the fact that I've made way too much. So yeah, it's kind of like a mix and mix. It's like a dark rust grey, Eshin grey mix. And that way we're going to water this down quite a fair bit. You can see here that's like quite watery. And then we're just going to apply that over the top, but in the same sort of method, like avoiding the edges and whatnot. Got a little bit here for an example, and just kind of, yeah, you can see it's like still a similar shade, still quite dark. We've got that little blue tint to it, so we'll do something similar over the top just to build up that grey. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the next step is to do just rust grey over the top, kind of in the middle, to add a sort of like a layering gradient kind of effect. Yeah, like I mentioned, I was right. So I'm just going to take this sort of half-half mix we've got, and then we're going to put in a little bit more rust grey to make it like a bit brighter. So this time, rather than being like a half and half, it's just like a slightly dulled down rust grey. Cool, and then we're going to take this and we're going to like stipple it and kind of spread it across just the centre sections of the armour. So for example, instead of going all around the edge like we did with this, we're just going to try and keep it a little bit to the middle. In fact, maybe a little bit further out. but kind of a similar effect to what we did with the first layer of Eshin Grey. Not do the whole surface, just kind of leave some of the edges, and that kind of makes like a sort of highlight. So you see this, oh, let's go in here a little bit. There we go, look at that. And yeah, so we've still got that sort of undercoat of the Eshin and the 50-50 around the edge, and also the black undercoat even further to the edge, but then in the middle we've got this like light sort of blue. So yeah, let's crack on with that with the rest of the armour and see how it goes. Also, fun little minor fact, actually spent the day cleaning my desk. You might have noticed the table's looking exceptionally white. Look at that. It's really funny because like in my first ever video, my desk was really nice and pristine and clean. And as you progress through the videos, you can actually see it getting like dirtier and dirtier, getting covered in more and more paint. I thought it was quite funny. But yeah, I figured today I finally bite the bullet and actually tidy and clean it because it got a bit out of hand. So yeah, I'm sure we'll carry on with that progression though. As these videos progress, maybe by the end of the Space Wolves box it'll be back to being covered in rust grey and Mephiston reds and all sorts. I will say that with this upper section I am trying to be a little more heavy-handed on the highlight colour, like the sort of more rust grey, just because this is like the upper part of the mini, so it'll have the most light hitting it, so it should be a little bit brighter than the second half. So I'm not being as delicate, I'm kind of like slapping around a lot more of that rust grey, especially on this top section here, like around the rim I might just make it pure rust grey. There we go, that's all the armour done. That wasn't as hard as I thought, to be fair. So yeah, we've just done like some Eshin Grey and then some layers of like rust grey mixtures over the top, leaving some big black bold sort of gaps in it to accentuate some of the armour details. And it looks quite cool, but I always think it looks alright, and then I like look up at the tutorial I'm following and it's like oh god, what have I done? So like if I take this off. So yeah, this is the video I was following, and yeah, it looks really good. It's like her armour and her paint job looks real nice and clean and well defined and highlighted, and then yeah, then my little guy comes up and not quite the same. But I'm sure once we put a lot of the details on and all the other colours, it might come together and it will look really, really cool. Cool, so that's what we're going to do next actually. We're going to put some of the colours on this guy. So we'll start with the chest stuff as always. So we'll do the Aquila, which will be Retributor gold. The belt should be Mournfang brown, I believe. And then, oh, he's got a little strap on his knee. Oh, might make that Rhinox hide, and then he's got a tooth and a gem for Evil Sun Scarlet. I think that's everything on him. Look at that, that looks really cool. That's so unlike anything that I've ever done before. These like cool, big, bold black outlines. It really like accentuates some of the armors and the shapes and whatnot. Yeah, now that I've put all the torso details on, it really pops as well. Like I love it. Similar to the last model, it was a little bit touch and go at first, but now that a lot more colors are on, it's incredible. I absolutely love. I don't know if it's going to come up. The little like trinket around his leg. There's so many little things going on. I love it, so cool. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to switch gears a little bit and go on to the other guy, the Zenithal contrast dude, just because the only thing that's left for this guy now is just the base colors. Yeah, there's no more like funky techniques or anything different or weird new paints, it's just like the base colors. So what I want to do next is I want to use all of these new fancy contrast paints that I've got. Look at these, I've got like Space Wolves grey, what's this called? Tyran blue, Baal red, and I've got like Imperial fist somewhere. All these awesome cool new unopened paints to do the groundwork for this guy. So basically what he's going to have is Space Wolves grey on the base, and then we're going to go over the top with some Tyran blue, and then we're going to use the Baal red and the Imperial fist on the shoulders. Yeah, that's all the contrast paints for him. So what I want to do now is I want to switch over to the other guy. So let's take him out of his stand, put this on, use all the contrast paints for him, get him to the same point as the other guy, and then we can just do all the base colours for like the guns, the backpack, all the other little details that are going to be like the same base colours together, just to save some time. And then we'll review these two and the one we did last video to see which one we like best. So yeah, moving on, we're going to go to Space Wolves Grey for the first coat on this guy's armour. Tell you what, I do really like how this like blue contrast Space Wolves grey kind of looks. It's really nice, especially when it's like a little bit wet still, like on this backpack. It's a nice blue. So what we'll do next is, the tutorial does say to put a layer of Tyran blue shade over the top to darken it down a bit, because it is a little bit translucent. But what I want to do is similar to what I did with the Black Templar. I actually want to dry brush some Fenrisian grey highlights over the top, and then apply the shade over the top. So because with the Black Templar I do contrast Black Templar, dry brush the highlights, and then put Nuln Oil. So I kind of want to do a similar thing with these guys, just with the correct colours obviously. So let's grab the dry brush and do some Fenrisian grey dry brushing highlight. Sweet, like we mentioned, next up is some Tyran blue, just to go all over this armour. I will say, in this video I'm watching, his like base layer of Space Wolf contrast is a lot lighter than mine is. This is already quite dark, so we'll see what the Tyran blue does to it. Cool, so there's the Tyran blue applied, and I love that, that's so cool. Something about like the shade being like bright and blue is really like, I don't know, I love it. It's so interesting and different, because the only shades I've had really before are like White Flesh, Nuln Oil, and I've got like Agrax Earthshade, just dark like browns and blacks used to like obviously shade recesses. But having such a bright, bold blue as like a shade is so different and interesting. I really like it. And yeah, how it sits in the armour, it's cool. I'm a real big fan of this. I do think I could have got some smoother applications in some sections, like on these shin pads, like some of them are a little bit lighter in some sections. But I can just maybe chalk it off as a real life lighting and shading, yeah, definitely. But no, overall, big fan of this, love this blue, it's cool. So, next up, the final contrast paints to go on. These pop in bright and bold yellow and red, look how cool they are. We've got contrast, Baal red and Imperial fist. We'll do one for each shoulder. So we'll do the red one on the left here, and the yellow on the right. Of course, with those shoulders done, what I do want to do is just get the contrast guy up to speed with the Grimdark model. So I just want to do the chest Aquila, I think that's gold, the Mournfang brown belt, and then I think this is the only trinket on his leg. Yeah, and also I need to do these armour ribbons as black. So yeah, we'll just kind of get this guy up to speed so he's on par with the Grimdark, and then we can take the things like the weapons and then the other little trinkets and stuff and do them all like together in bulk. I think that should be it. Cool, so where's that Mournfang brown and the Retributor? Right, so I think they're both at the same point now. So we've got these two. We've got the Grimdark and the Contrast guy. They both got their base armor done and some extra details on the torso just to kind of bring them in and see what it looks like with the base colour. And the shoulders also both done. So I'm pretty sure all that's left now is the weapons and the Leadbelcher. I'm just thinking, yeah, and a couple of little bits like the eyes, and I do think this Contrast guy has got, yeah, some little trinkets. Oh, the shoulder decals are left as well. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, the free hand. Oh, okay. Tell you what, I'll save the free hand till last. But what I can start doing now is the weapons on both of them. So the Grimdark guy has got a sword and a gun, and the Contrast dude has just a gun. Sweet. So we'll do the weapons together, and then we can do the Leadbelcher as well, because there's loads of little bits on. Yeah, they've got loads of bolts and rivets like all over the armor, and then on the backpacks as well. There's obviously all the silver that needs to go on the backpacks, and a couple little bits on the helmet, I think, as well. So what we'll do is we'll crack on with the weapons and then the Leadbelcher, and then maybe I'll finish on the shoulder decals. We'll see. Cool, so that's all the Leadbelcher done for the weapons. All I need to do now for colour-wise is just put some Balthasar gold on this handle here, or this handguard, and the handle I might make like corn red, just like a dark red colour. And then I think I'm going to try the edge highlights again. I'm going to try some Eshin highlights around the edge of the guns, just because they're just a little bit plain and boring. Right, yeah, they're just silver and black. Right, next up in the Space Wolf Scrap Heap Challenge that is my desk, it is shoulder pad time. Oh my god. So, I'm actually quite excited, to be fair. I'm saying all this like dread and horror, but I'm keen to see how much easier it is doing this freehand stuff when it's on the cork. Because on the last model, it was all built. So now this time, I can kind of like really easily spin it and get it all in the angles I want. So hopefully that might make it a little bit easier. Although I've not done myself any favours, and this one's got some trinkets on it. You know what, they're not too bad. I feel like they were a bit better to paint, although I'm saying that, I'm looking at this one, it's a bit wonky on this side. This one's okay, like I mentioned, it's a bit hard to paint over the sort of trinket, band, leather strap, whatever that is. But they're not too bad. Let's grab the other one actually to compare it to. Where is he? Oh no, actually I think the first one might be better. The first one was more like slender and a little bit wobbly, whereas these are a bit thicker and chunkier. No, I mean, they're not horrendous. Definitely something we can work on though. So we just need to put some transfers onto these yellow ones as well. So let's grab the transfer sheet and slap them on. Transfers are going to take about 20 minutes to dry before they need a layer of micro sole. So while we wait for those transfers to dry, what we can do is move on to what I think is one of the final pieces. We've got these like trinkets, these like ceremonial bands with like runes and teeth on them. This one might be a bit awkward because it's with the transfer, but it'll be alright. So yeah, we've got a couple of little teeth, some runes. I think they're mostly on the shoulders. Let's have a look. Pretty much just on the shoulders. And then also, I didn't actually forget this time, but I've got these extras that need to go on the back of their belt. Oh my god, I'm not gonna lie, this is getting a bit tough. Oh, just staring at these tiny little like trinkets for ages is putting colours everywhere. Right, so yeah, we're just kind of, the sword is the main one. There's so much going on, I don't know what half the colours are meant to be. Like the trim of this package, there's some runes on it, but we're just on the normal handle. Balthazar, corn red, and some silver, black, and some leather. I'm not a massive fan of it, but like I said, I've been staring at this for what feels like forever, and it's getting real messy. So I'm just gonna chill on that for a sec. But with this other stuff, what we're going to do is we've done a base layer of Rhinox hide. So we're just going to do some edge highlights with Mournfang brown. And that's pretty much what I do with the leather. So we'll highlight now with Mournfang brown, and then we'll put an Agrax Earthshade wash over the top. Right, I think I've used up all of my motivation and mental energy on these things. Like, these are little leather pouches I'm quite happy with. Got like the Rhinox hide on them with the Mournfang highlight. I just need to do some washes to like finish them off. I'm okay with these, but this like chainsaw thing, I'm just, I'm not a massive fan of. So, I mean, from this point upwards, we can cover it up. That bit's cool. Like, I like the handle, the hilt, the gold, the silver, this weird like cover. I mean, to be fair, even that's not too bad. It's this little bit sticking out at the end, and I don't know what these like bumpy sections are meant to be. So I'm getting a bit like a my head with it, and I keep poking and prodding at it, and I think that's making it worse. So I'm just going to leave this now as it is. So what I want to do, all we need to do now is some silver on the backpack and some of the rivets, and then washes and build it. So I think I'll start with the silver. We've got the two backpacks. The helmets need some silver on them, and then the chest has got some like rivets along the neck, and this one is on the chest as well. Yeah, on the chest. So our shoulder pads have all dried, set, soled and all sorts. So now it's time to do the chip damage. Like I mentioned last time, I didn't really like how translucent the chip damage appeared when I used the watered down Averland Sunset. So what I've done is I've got my little bit of sponge. I've also just put some straight Averland Sunset on a dry palette, not even watered down, so hopefully the chip damage might be a little bit thicker and more prominent. So let's have a look, shall we? Oh yeah, that's a lot better, I think. A lot more prominent, because last time I sponged on some watered down Averland Sunset, so it kind of looked a little bit translucent, whereas this time it's a bit more thick and prominent and actual chip damage. Cool, cool, cool. So it's time to try that, but with the contrast paint. I don't know how this works. Maybe we just dump the sponge in. Oh yeah, the chip damage doesn't really work too well with the contrast paint. Maybe I'll try a little bit of the Averland Sunset. You know what, this guy can just have a little bit of a clean shoulder pad. They don't all need to be chip damaged. Right, it's been a bit of a journey, but I think there's only one thing left paint-wise, and that is the shades, like the washes. So we've got Agrax Earthshade for the leathers, like the belts, the sword holsters, the pouches. I'm just looking around at all the pieces on my desk. Also Agrax Earthshade for the Aquillas, the Balthazar gold on like the sword. There was one more thing as well. Oh, and the fur, and then I think it's just Nuln Oil on all the Leadbelcher parts, like the guns, a little bit of the swords, and that's it, I think. So let's quickly shade everything, and then we can start building and reviewing. Right, I think that's actually everything. I think all of these teeny tiny little individual pieces are finished, painted, shaded, highlighted, the works. So now's the best part. We get to construct it all. It's like, I absolutely love the look of all these pieces individually. Like these arms look quite cool. I love the shoulder pads, but it's something else when you get to put it all together. So let's set up the camera somewhere fancy and get the glue ready and start constructing. Here we go, two brand new Space Wolves. Look at them. Look at these boys, they look so good. Yeah, I like these two. Here we go, the full 360 view. Got a little spinning pod and everything. So yeah, well, I guess what we can do is we can go through each of them one by one of the paint jobs, and then we can talk about the colours overall and compare them and pick which one we like. So we'll start with the interesting one, the Grimdark. So let's chuck him on a podium. There we go, this guy's so cool. He's so unique and different and unlike anything I've ever painted before. Like, I've heard of Grimdark before and I've kind of seen different things about it, but I've not really thought to try it. But then I saw this tutorial and it seemed really accessible and not easy, but like, yeah, accessible. So I was like, oh, I just definitely want to give that a try. And yeah, it's such a cool, like, unique look. It really accentuates some of like the armor. It makes him look really, really like intimidating and menacing, especially with this like running pose. I love this. He's like kind of running towards, gun in hand. He's got a little pistol on his side. Yeah, I absolutely love this. I'm not sure if I would do it for all of my guys though, because I mean, it's something I'm going to come back to a lot in this review, but it's very dark and very dingy. And the thing I liked most about the Space Wolves was how bright and bold they are. But I do really like it. Like, my favourite part is the leg. I wonder if we can zoom in on it. Yeah, this like strap with the gem around it. Like, I feel like the black edges around all of the details are really good. The gem stands out and it's quite bold. It's really, really cool. And then all the little details. So we did the sort of the Grimdark Armour, and all the details are pretty much the same. Like the black and silver sword, kind of red and yellow shoulder pads, and the Leadbelcher everywhere else. I remember the little trinkets, of course. So we got the pouch there. He's got like a gun with some fur on it on his side. But yeah, this was really interesting. It was a lot easier than I thought. I was a little bit intimidated at first when I saw the tutorial, but as I went through, I thought you got some really good results for not as much effort as I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a lot more difficult and a lot harder, but yeah, you can really see on that side panel, like the black outlines, especially here on the foot. Like, that's a good actually showing of what it looks like. And it's super cool. I really like the look. I definitely would consider doing something like this on another chapter. I don't know what off the top of my head, because I don't know all the chapters all that well. Maybe like Dark Angels or something. But yeah, like I mentioned, I really like how bright and bold the Space Wolves are, and this kind of takes that back a little bit. But I do like it. It does look really cool. So maybe what I might do in the future. Where's that box gone? I'm kind of torn because I can see a world where I use this Grimdark effect on like a captain or a leader or someone significant to be like, oh, he's special and intimidating and scary, like a character of sorts, and then maybe leaving the infantry for something else. But then it wouldn't match and it'd be a bit different. I don't know. I'll leave links in the description for the tutorial I followed. But yeah, it's so cool, it's really different and unique compared to everything else I painted. I'm just looking at the shelf. Yeah, so overall, I'm a fan of this look. I like it a lot, and I might consider doing it going forward for like characters and such. But I don't know if I'd paint the whole army just because I like how bright and bold the Space Wolves are supposed to be. And then speaking of, we've got the contrast guy next, and he's something similar. I don't know why he's so dark. Like the tutorial I followed, it was so bright and like bold and looked very similar to like rust grey. For some reason, my guy's really, really blue. He almost looks like an ultramarine. So what I might do actually is off camera, I might try this again, but do the the shade, the dark blue shade. Maybe like either not apply it or apply a really thin watered down layer, because I think that might be what happened. Because I do really like some aspects of this. So if we go to this leg, you can see a lot of the highlights from the dry brush and a lot of the depth on some of the panels in the arm here. Like I really, really like that. How the highlights and the depth of the armor look. It looks really, really cool, and it's what I'd like to do going forward, because one of my issues with the last one I did, the base colours, the highlights wasn't really that prominent. Like the Nuln Oil recess shade did really well, but the highlights were a bit meh. Whereas with this, doing the similar thing with the Black Templars of the contrast paint, dry brush, and then a wash, I feel like it's really accentuated the armour and the highlights. Like even on this arm here, like on his elbow, there's like a nice little highlight. The armour panels have got like nice shading and like recesses to them. So I like the effect of the armour, but yeah, the colouring is just so dark. Oh, I use contrast on the shoulders actually, as we compare it to the Mephiston red. I do quite like the contrast actually. I kind of prefer it because it's quite bright and bold, although I will say actually I don't like the Imperial fist. It's quite thin and translucent. I quite like the bold Averland sunset, so I might stick with that. So maybe one shoulder will be, what was it called? Baal red contrast, and one can be Averland sunset. So yeah, in terms of this paint scheme, I do want to try it again, but maybe like thinner coats of the washes and the contrast just to kind of keep that brightness. But if we put them side by side and just go over the actual models themselves, just one little thing that these guys had that the last one didn't is these little runes. Can we zoom in? Is that a thing? Yeah, you can see on like the shoulder pads they've got these little runes, and what I tried doing is I painted them Mechanica standard grey, and I really, really watered down some white. I think it was White Scar. And I kind of got a thin brush and just like dropped it in, and it kind of like filled it. I think that looks really, really cool, you know, like this rune with like these prominent markings in them. More little trinkets and little toys that I love, absolutely love on these guys. That's my favourite part. But I think that was everything. I like this guy has, like I mentioned, a little gem around his leg. That looks really cool. That's just my favourite thing about these models is all the tiny little details that bring them in. The base was just the same as before. I did some Armageddon dust just to add some texture, not even for the colour. And then I went over it with some White Scar. But this time I actually got, where is it? Some of this stuff, Technical Valhalla Blizzard. So it's just like fake snow, I think. And kind of spattered it around so you can kind of see on his boot, it's over there. So a little bit more thick, it's got some actual texture. And then around the back, one thing I really like, there it is. So I did it on the back of his boot, and then a little bit of his sword as well, because I was like, this is kind of at foot level, we'll be dragging through the snow. So that would get some of that Blizzard stuff on it. So yeah, really cool. I like this technical Blizzard stuff and just kind of spattering it around. Also, like, because he's in motion, I put some on the bottom of his shoe because it'd be on his foot because he's running through it. Yeah, I love the little stuff like that. That's really cool. So if we grab the other guy from last video, so I think going forward, I do want to try, like I mentioned, the shade guy again. Yeah, so I definitely want to try the contrast painting again because I like the effect it has on the armor. But I think going forward, I do like this guy, like the base dude. I don't know, is there a name for this type of painting? Like I think I've heard people call it like the Games Workshop kind of standard, where it's just using base coats, edge highlighting. Because obviously this is like contrast paints, or some call it like speed paint or slop chop, I think. And this is like Grimdark. So like I know different painting techniques have different names, but I don't know what this is called. Like just using base, rust grey, edge highlights with like using layer paints. I'm just looking at it now, like layer paints and base coats and like just GW stuff. Like I don't know what it's called. So if there's a name for this technique, style, please let me know. But I think going forward, I might stick with this, you know. Like I said, I really, really like how bright and bold they are. That was my only issue with these two at the back. Like I love this thing. It looks really, really cool, but it's just a bit too dark for me, because I've already got the Black Templar. I do think if I hadn't done the Black Templar first, and this was the first box I brought, I actually probably would have ended up doing all of them like this in the Grimdark, because it does look really cool. But I feel like the Black Templar already scratched that kind of Grimdark itch for me. So I kind of want to have like a nice, bright, bold, rust grey army contrasting it like with this guy in the middle. So going forward, I might actually, you know, just stick with the base coats, GW standard, layer coat paints, whatever it's called. There we go. Two brand new Space Wolves in different styles, very unique and interesting in their own way. And yeah, I'm happy. I absolutely love these videos. These are like my favourite ones to do. because I just love trying new stuff. That's like my favourite thing about the hobby, is just taking ideas that I see online, things that I think are cool, and just trying them for the first time. So yeah, I love doing this stuff, and these were fun. These were really, really cool. I also feel like I learn a lot when doing new styles. Like, even if I don't use these going forward, like if I never do another Grimdark again, or I never touch that Space Wolf contrast, I still feel like I learn a lot trying new things. There's lots of transferable skills. It's good to get the reps under your belt. And also, you can take little things. Like, for example, what I was thinking of doing was taking this guy, so doing like a base of rust grey, and then maybe doing some dry brushing for the highlights, and then maybe applying the Space Wolves contrast over the top as I washed, or maybe something like that. So even if I don't take the whole recipe, I still feel like I learn little bits and bobs from all the other stuff, and I can take them out and try to do things and kind of mix and match. So yeah, these are like my favourite. I love trying new things. So I definitely think going forward I want to stick to the bright, bold Space Wolves, like the rust grey kind of base coat GW standard. But yeah, I'm really excited to incorporate things from both models into this to make like an even better recipe. So I do feel confident enough now going forward to like start doing big things, like batch painting maybe lots of Marines in one go, or doing like a bit of a special guy, like what they called. Is it the Head Takers? Yeah, I feel confident enough now to maybe next video take on one of these big boys, like the guys with the shields and the axes and whatnot. So maybe that's what we'll do next. I think so. I'm excited. I feel like I'm getting into the flow now. I feel like I'm really getting a handle on the Space Wolves. I kind of know all the little bits and bobs, because these guys had things that the first one didn't. Like the runes are brand new. Some of the little extras, like the fur and the big sword backpack, was good. I've also got a chance to play around with the blizzard basing thing. And I really like that. That's really cool. I like putting it on like his boots and the little stuff around him. But no, looking at him now on the shelf, look at that. Oh, let's get you. Look at that. That's really cool. Yeah, they're really coming together now. Like the three of them starting to form a little squad opposite the old Black Templars. I'll probably need to move some of this. I'll probably move some of these stuff behind him out of the way eventually. So I've just got the Space Wolves and the Black Templar. Maybe these can go on another shelf, like the Tyranid and the Terminators and whatnot. But no, them on the shelf there, they look really cool. I like that, just lined up. I think that's my favourite thing about it. I like collecting them and having them on, because I've got all these like anime figures behind me. So I like having stuff on display. And this is cool. I like having a shelf of like an army, especially when you've painted it as well. Like, it's really rewarding to like look at him, like they look really cool, and I made that. So yeah, really chuffed with them so far. But I guess that'll do it for today. Like I mentioned, I think we'll go for a is it a Head Taker? I'm gonna look at the book so I get it right. Head Taker. I think it might be time to venture out into a Head Taker next, you know, because I feel like I said, I feel confident enough. I feel like I've got a good amount of under my belt. I feel like I've got a good recipe now. I know I like the rust grey with the Fenrisian highlights and whatnot. So I feel confident. So maybe it might be time to tackle a Head Taker. So tune in next time for that. But if you liked the video, drop us a like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye.